sir.
Come, Gunjita, please come.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
sir.
Please sit down.
Thank you, sir.
So, shall we start, Gunjita?
Yes, sir.
So, please introduce yourself to the panel.
Yes, sir. So, good morning, everybody. My name is Gunjita Agrawal. I come from Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. I have done BCom Honours from Bhopal itself. Post that, currently, I am pursuing a course in Public Policy from Indian School of Public Policy, New Delhi. My interests include watching tennis tournaments and meditation.
And?
Meditation.
So, you're a B Commerce from Bhopal, right?
Yes, sir.
Commerce, Accounts and Economics, fine. So, your optional is Sociology, right?
Yes, sir.
So, how this public policy, you have completed this course?
No, sir, I'm currently
You are
pursuing.
still doing it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, how this knowledge of public policy will help you in formulating policies when you get into the civil services?
So, sir, at Indian School of Public Policy, we are taught various subjects which particularly deal with policy and how a public policy has different stages. For example, first you have to set an agenda, you have to formulate a policy, and in formulation you have to understand how three stakeholders are the most important, which is like the Samaj, Sarkar and Bazaar. Samaj is the civil society and the people at large, Sarkar is the government, and Bazaar is like the market and the private sector. So any policy, when we draft it, we should keep this in mind. So that's how.
So Gunjita, you have to make the new excise policy for Madhya Pradesh.
Yes, sir.
How would you go about?
Sir, may I take a moment?
Yes, and keep Delhi excise policy in mind.
Yes, sir. So I'm ready. So I think the aspects that I told earlier, firstly, I would study the Delhi excise policy and the issues that pertain to it. So because the government has had a larger stake in deciding the taxation rates, and the private sector has also felt that the taxation rates are higher, a middle ground needs to be created whereby taxation structure would be on the basis of revenue in future, like revenue prospects in future. Also, I think private sector, there could be different slabs based on the revenue generation of the company. If there is a smaller company dealing with smaller units, we could have a smaller tax slab, and if there is a bigger company, we could charge a progressive taxation. So I think that would be the way.
So would taxation be part of the policy?
Yes, sir, because any policy ponders upon the budgeting aspect as well.
But MP has come out with a new excise policy. Are you aware of it?
No, sir, I'm not aware.
Not aware of it. Okay, doesn't matter. MP has come out with a scheme called Ladli Behna scheme.
Yes,
Are
sir.
you aware of it?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
So, under Ladli Behna Yojana, the Madhya Pradesh government has decided to give rupees 12,000 per year to eligible women beneficiaries.
Do you see it as a freebie in the light of the fact that MP is going to have elections this year?
Sir, I think it is an extension of their previous successful scheme, which was Ladli Lakshmi Yojana, to now targeting a very important segment of beneficiaries, which is the women. Also, I think this can be justified through the provision of universal basic income. We are moving in a direction of universal.
Will it be another case of DBT? You have heard about DBT?
Yes, sir, I am aware.
How this money will go? Will it go through DBT route?
Yes, sir. A bank account needs.
How do you think DBT is better than routing it through the government agencies?
Sir, under DBT, firstly, the share of center and state both are directly paid into the beneficiary's account. So this moves away any middlemen in the process. Second,
coming to your BCom, you have done business economics.
yes, sir.
Okay, again to the same liquor industry. Make a cost-benefit analysis of liquor industry in India.
So may I take a moment?
You have done cost-benefit analysis in your BCom?
Yes, sir, as a periphery subject. So the costs would include firstly the larger social cost, which in terms of health degradation that takes place, and in a larger aspect the general societal cost that exists. Also, the benefits would include the benefit to the revenues of the state and to overall economy of India.
Thank you, Gunjita. I pass on to a member.
Thank you, sir.
So, Gunjita,
Yes, sir.
you come from Bhopal.
Yes, sir.
What is all famous for Bhopal?
Sir, it is famous for the national parks and the Van Vihar National Park, and it also has cultural heritage sites like Bhimbetka nearby it.
How old is that Bhimbetka thing?
So it belongs to the Paleolithic and Mesolithic age. So it's and the paintings are also there till the recent post Vedic era. So I am not aware about the exact.
So what is Paleo and what is Meso?
So Paleolithic age is the one where humans had just emerged and there was no form of agriculture. The humans were mostly hunters. They used to live in forests.
The question is, what is Paleo? What is Meso?
Sir, I'll have to read upon it.
Okay, I see. Anything else in Bhopal?
So it is called the City of Lakes.
Yes, City of Lakes. Acha, tell me, do you keep in touch what happened in this compensation case? Government of India went to Supreme Court looking for more compensation for this Bhopal gas tragedy victims. What happened there?
So as per my knowledge, the case is still pending in the court and there has not been a decision taken as of yet.
Do you think the government's demand was justified?
So the government's demand emerges from the citizens' demand for more compensation of amount. There is a lack of fund that has come up because more number of people have come up with more health issues after.
What was the comments of the Supreme Court on it?
Sir, I'm not
okay.
completely.
Recently, government has placed a budget in the parliament and there will be discussions on it. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
In the coming, after the interval session is over. So, do you think it's the balance sheet of the government? Is it profit loss account or what it is? From commerce and accountancy terms. Or is it something totally different?
Sir, I'll have to read upon it.
Okay. In Assam, that a lot of noise had been created because the police went all out to catch people who married young. So, what is the issue there?
So Assam currently has a very high rate of child marriages in the country, and the police went on to retrospectively arrest boys who had married young, and they jailed them and arrested them, because of which the women were left behind. And
is it a normal law and order crime issue or is it a social issue basically?
Sir, I think it's a mix of both because Assam government is trying to implement the law fiercely and try to create a fear among against child marriage. But there also exists larger social issue of deprivation of the women who have married earlier, and because the law is not void ab initio. Retrospectively arresting.
Is the law clear on the subject?
Yes, sir. The law is clear.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Gunjita,
Yes, sir.
you watch tennis tournaments.
Yes, sir.
So why there are so many different type of courts for tennis? What each court represent?
So, it comes from the traditions of tennis. So, for example, Wimbledon has a grass court because traditionally tennis was started to play on the grass court. But when it started in French, the grass court was heavier, was expensive and difficult to maintain. So, they went for a clay court. And then with development of more technology, synthetic courts came to play in the US and Australia. So that is why the surfaces are based on the traditions, and also the tennis federation wanted a player's skill to be tested on different surfaces because each surface behaves differently on the ball.
Comparing tennis and coming to cricket.
Yes, sir.
Cricket pitches have played very funny in recent matches to the extent that Australian teams said that these are not pitches on which matches can be played. So should we also standardize pitches of cricket? Something like tennis?
Sir, I think standardization would affect our international competitiveness because pitches abroad are not standard as well. So, standardize and a player's skill is tested on a different pitch. If one pitch in India has, for example, Indore has a bowler's advantage, another pitch has a batter's advantage, for example, one in Mumbai. So, I think it's a good mix, but we should definitely try to ensure that there is no unfair advantage on any pitch.
Good, Gunjita. Coming to social media.
Yes, sir.
Do you think it is a necessary evil? Or it is necessary or it is evil?
So, would you pardon?
Social media, is
Yes,
it
sir.
necessary evil, or social media is necessary, or social media is evil? So which one would you pick up and justify why?
Sir, in the upcoming age, social media is definitely necessary, but the way we have used it has made it evil. Necessary because with technological developments and in terms of sociology also, it brings people together. It helps in connecting people, and it is bringing a lot of opportunities for segments like women. So I think it's a necessity, but it has turned out to be evil by the misuse of technology, by using it for ulterior motives like political agendas, for pornography against women. So I think the way we are using it has created a social issue.
Gunjita, you are BCom
Yes, sir.
in business economics. So how to reduce our import bill? I'll give you an example. China. We talk of so much of Atmanirbharta, but our imports from China are growing over the years. So how can we tackle and reduce our import bill?
Sir, I think firstly by the Make in India initiative and promoting manufacturing through the production linked incentive schemes. For example, the equipments like semiconductors that we import, government has brought out a PLI scheme. Secondly, a large number of exports are due to energy imports. So, energy diversification and opting for renewable energy can help us decrease the imports. And overall, promoting exports through various schemes can help balance the import that is taking place.
Now you are posted as Finance Secretary in Ministry of Finance, and you are given a task of enhancing revenues of the government. What will you do? Increase in direct taxes or indirect taxes? increasing direct taxes or increasing indirect taxes, and why?
Sir, I would opt for a balance of both, but primarily increasing the direct taxes because there is inequality in the nation. And if we opt for progressive taxation, the direct taxes impact the upper class of the economy. So they can bear the brunt of a higher tax. But if we increase the indirect taxes, it will impact the poorest amongst the poor and could reduce their disposable income, which could have effects on economy.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Gunjita, can you tell me something about this Kane-Betwa link project?
Yes, sir. So it is a project of interlinking of Kane, the surplus water from Kane to Betwa, which is taking place. It will impact approximately 7 districts, 3 districts of Madhya Pradesh and approximately 4 districts of.
What is its
Uttar Pradesh.
present status?
Sir, I am not aware about
Okay. Now you are studying this public policy.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me 5 public policy initiatives of Government of India in the recent years which have impacted lives of women in India, particularly rural women? Socio-economic lives of women. 5 public initiatives, public policy initiatives.
So, can I take a moment?
Please, please.
Thank you. Yes, sir. So, firstly, the Jal Jeevan Mission Rural, which is helping to reach household water. The second would be Swachh Bharat Abhiyan Rural, which has helped increase the health status of the women. Third would be Poshan Abhiyan, where nutrition for women is being targeted. Fourth would be the Pehal Yojana, where LPG cylinders are being provided. And fifth would be Saubhagya, where rural electrification of the villages took place.
Very good. Gunjita, recently, Honorable Supreme Court has come out with a decision about the appointment of chief election commissioners and election commissioners.
Yes.
Do you think the Supreme Court was in its, was not, it has not taken back its own stand on separation of powers? Because appointment of chief election commissioner and election commissioner is purely an executive function, which is provided in Article 324, something I think of the president will be appointing. So,
Yes, sir.
why Supreme Court? Don't you think it is a case of judicial activism or even judicial overreach? What is your view?
Sir, I definitely think it's a positive case of judicial activism, whereby because Article 324(2) provided for Parliament to form a law for appointment. But even after so many years, a law was not enacted. So Supreme Court filled in the constitutional vacuum that existed. But I think Parliament has the power to overcome the law. So I think.
Yeah. Your sociology optional.
Yes, sir.
Gunjita, tell me, how would you make use of sociology, knowledge of sociology to improve society in general in your district? Which actions would you take as a district collector to improve society in your district?
Sir, so firstly, there is a theory of R.K. Merton about latent and manifest functions of any policy or decision. Manifest would be something which the law says, but latent is the inner impact of that decision. For example, the recent Assam case that Sir talked about. The manifest is implementation of law, but it is impacting the women. So I will be mindful of the latent impacts that any policy has. Secondly, I would always be mindful of the deprived sections, because deprivation is a concept that we study, and any policy needs to go and fulfill the needs of the poorest of the poor. So that way poverty would be handled well.
Good. Now this Russia-Ukraine war,
Yes, sir.
Can you name any country which you think has benefited from this Russia-Ukraine war other than India? Let us India, of course, there are some issues that show that India has benefited diplomatically or wheat export, etc., etc. But other than India, any country you can think of which has benefited from Russia-Ukraine war, particularly in terms of economy? No problem.
No, sir.
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, Gunjita,
Yes, sir.
why there is a trade deficit with China, and how should we reduce this trade deficit?
So there is a trade deficit because we are import dependent on China for certain high value items like the active pharmaceutical ingredients, like the semiconductor manufacturing and various electrical equipments. How we can reduce it is through increasing our exports firstly, maybe the service exports, and providing our agricultural food processed goods to China. I think that could be a way out, and increasing exports and declining imports on the other end by diversifying our imports from China. For example, not creating a dependency for semiconductors on China, but importing it from the West and from the European end. So I think that could help.
Pakistan is in economic crisis. So, why IMF is not giving them loans, and why should India be worried?
So IMF has told that there are higher chances because they have defaulted on the debt payments. So there are chances of future debt payment issues, and certain economic steps that were asked to take by IMF. For example, reduction in their expenditure, a higher taxation to be imposed. Those steps have not been taken by Pakistan. The impact of Pakistan crisis on India is particularly in terms of regional security, because if such crisis takes place, radicalization and extremist organizations and people could increase, which could impact India's regional security.
As a student of sociology, can you explain why voter turnout in northeastern states is generally very high as compared to other parts of India?
So Emile Durkheim gave a concept of collective consciousness, which is because Northeast has a number of tribal population, and these tribes are a simple society based on very high collective consciousness. So their representation to form a government is also higher. So I think it stems from the collective awareness about their rights and societal community feeling among the people.
Are you aware about Agnipath scheme?
Yes, sir.
So why there were protests against it? And what's your take on that?
So there were protests because there were only 4 years of tenure is being provided, and there were concerns that what would happen to the appointed Agniveers after the 4 years and their employment security. And I think the government is moving in a right direction to reduce their defense expenditure, but their employability should be ensured by higher engagement with the private sector beforehand and giving them efficient skill training.
You like playing tennis?
So
Watching tennis. Okay. So who is the GOAT of all time? Federer, Djokovic or Nadal, and why?
So my personal favorite is Novak Djokovic, and the way he has emerged and continued to play against the existing big two, I think he is the real greatest player of all time.
And why do you wish to join civil services, Gunjita?
So it stems from my college days where I was a part of National Service Scheme, and I did some groundwork on the social aspects of the society. For example, for the tribals, and I could see the difference and I could see how it gave me satisfaction. So that is one of the primary reasons because of which I urged. And secondly, I think the capabilities and my capacities can be fully utilized in this service because of the exposure and the opportunities that we get.
Okay, thank you. I pass on to Chairman, sir.
So, Gunjita, anything in the DAF which we may not have covered?
So as I mentioned, I was a part of National Service Scheme and it played a very big role in my life.
NSS. All right. So, what have been the takeaways from your stint as Secretary NSS?
So I think 3 key takeaways. The first would be how leadership is not always about asking the people to do the job, but doing by myself. Because when we did a camp, there was a hand pump which was clogged, and we as a team did a shramdan, and the whole team was satisfied because of that. Second would be discipline, because discipline is something which you need in all aspects of life. And third would be always engaging with the community and making community service as a part of your routine life rather than occasional service.
So, thank you, Gunjita. We close our interview now. We'll call you again. Meanwhile, you can wait in the next room.
Thank you.
So, Gunjita, first we would like to hear you about your own assessment today. Performance, your own performance.
So I think I answered most of the questions, which is a good thing. But few questions, I think I spoke something which was not apt.
Let
For
us hear.
example,
Do you recall which questions?
the excise policy question, I was not able to answer entirely well. I think the China question also, I felt I didn't deal very wisely. So, but overall, I'm happy the way I answered.
We are also very happy.
Thank you.
You're a very good candidate, Gunjita. You have done very well. Yes, the 2 issues that you have mentioned, we also felt that you could have done better. But as a whole, you have a very, very pleasing personality, and you could have your presence felt. Interaction was also very interesting. Another good thing is that you would think and speak.
Yes, sir.
Right? So that is a good point, and you are also to the point. You would start the answer right from the word go, instead of moving around, giving the background and yes sir, this, that, repeating the question. That is a good habit of yours. And in terms of contents, you were by and large very knowledgeable, and this cost benefit thing you did very well. Excise, yes. Whenever you have policies, I thought that you would speak in terms of those 3 elements which you mentioned. क्या थे वो?
समाज, सरकार and bazaar.
तो उसी लाइन में बोलते ना.
I wanted to bring that, but I was not very sure of how.
नहीं, समाज के लिए आप सोच रहे कि सर the excise policy will be such that the shops we will not allow the shops to be used for drinking, and we will not allow shops to be near religious places,
highways.
You need not mention about don'ts. You could just mention at appropriate location, which will not affect the society as a whole.
Yes, sir.
Right? फिर दूसरा क्या है आपका समाज की बात? सरकार.
Which is the government.
तो सर मैं सरकार के ही पास रखूंगी. I will not privatize. मैंने दिल्ली का इसलिए रेफरेंस दिया कि दिल्ली का झंझट ये हुआ कि उसने दिल्ली को प्राइवेट कर दिया. राइट? MP की पॉलिसी में it is only to the government. Most of the states it is run by the government. And the government is the owner. And third क्या है?
Bazaar, which is like the private companies in the market.
Oh, bazaar. So I'll have enough restraint and restrictions on the sellers, on the shops. Some do's and don'ts will be very strictly should very strictly adhered in the policy. Right? And enough excise duty and license fee will be imposed very high, so that the state earns very high amount revenue.
And it also acts as a deterrent.
भाई सिगरेट पे भी टैक्स कितना लगाती रहती है सरकार, शराब पे भी लगाए. It is not a कोई necessity item तो है नहीं. Something like that.
Yes, sir.
Right? MP की एक्साइज पॉलिसी को आप पढ़ लेना. आई डोंट वांट टू गो इनटू द डिटेल्स. उसमें एक चीज थोड़ी सी कंट्रोवर्शियल करिए कि व्हेन यू आर ड्राइविंग, अगर ड्राइविंग करते हुए आप पकड़े गए पिए हुए तो आपको सीधे अरेस्ट करेंगे. दिल्ली में तो ये होता है कि फाइन लग जाता है या कुछ भी है. सो दैट इज वन थिंग. बट एक्साइज पॉलिसी ऑफ MP इज एज इट इज नॉट सो इम्पोर्टेंट. बट यू आर फ्रॉम मध्य प्रदेश, इसलिए इम्पोर्टेंट है. ऑलराइट, रेस्ट वाज फाइन. So very good. You're going very good, and keep it up.
Thank you, sir.
So Gunjita, you're a very good candidate. Whenever you are asked about your interest, hobby, or about your own city, so some sort of happiness should be reflected on your face. So that will help. Happiness is one, and being enthusiastic is another. So be enthusiastic about telling what is famous from Bhopal. And tourism, places of tourist interest are there. They are all famous. But something which is out of ordinary from Bhopal, you can tell that it is something famous from Bhopal. Suppose I say that Bhopali Pan. I mean, something out of ordinary. I mean, tourists are not going to come for pan, but that is something out of ordinary. So that will make your interview more lively.
Yes.
So look for such opportunities in the interview where you can make it more enthusiastic, more lively, more participative. That interview gets much more marks. It will give you more than 200 marks if the occasion comes.
Yes, sir.
Same thing, opportunity can be looked for if they ask you that have you read today's newspaper?
Yes, sir.
It's an open area. You can select one item because it is you who will select the news item which will be discussed thereafter.
Yes, sir.
So that's an opportunity. So keep few topics ready. After all, whatever topics are there 15 days before, they continue.
Yes.
There's only incremental some changes. Otherwise, news remains same.
Yes, sir.
So prepare those areas also. And if it comes, you'll have a very lively discussion. So that will put your marks beyond 200. So you have that capacity. I have seen you for the last half an hour. So you can go 205, 206, 210, provided you pick up areas where you can prepare in depth. If they come, you have all the good things. Okay?
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Yeah.
Gunjita, you have very good personality,
Thank you, sir.
very good conversation, in-depth replies. Just read up more on how to reduce import bills.
Yes, sir.
All right, your reply this was one question where I felt you could have done better.
Yes, sir.
And since you have studied economics, business economics, so be prepared, import, export,
Yes, sir.
how to maximize revenues for the government. So you could have talked of trade agreements also,
Yes. Be ready.
right?
Yes.
That will reduce import bill. You could have talked of R&D also. You could have talked of greater infrastructure so that Atmanirbharta you did mention.
Yes, sir.
So, and you were good on how to maximize revenue. Your reply was very good. So that's it. And I really liked your reply on cricket pitches.
Yes.
Very well analyzed and very well addressed. This is what we look for, your ability to analyze and come to conclusions. Keep it up.
Thank
Very
you, sir.
well.
I think Gunjita, all points have been covered. I won't repeat.
Yes, sir.
You are a very good candidate. In my opinion, you fit in that framework of a civil servant. Your personality, your confidence, your communication skills, your body language. So keep it up. Just brush up current affairs.
Yes.
That is one. And second, one very small observation that your hand movement was little excessive.
Okay.
So you control by 75%. Up to 25% is okay. We saw in video, your hands were moving almost constantly.
Okay.
So वो थोड़ा कम उसको मतलब थोड़ा मतलब 25% तक रखिए, 75% you have to control.
Okay.
आप वीडियो में देखेंगे then you will find what I am trying to say. Okay.
Okay.
All the best.
Thank you.
So I think all points have been covered, Gunjita. So you were very good, and I will be waiting to see your name very high on the list.
Thank you so much.
So wish you all the best. I pass on to Chairman sir.
Gunjita, any questions from your side?
No, sir. More or less, I just wanted to understand the questions where I took a stand. They were okay, or should I be more balanced?
Let's take, for example, the stand that you took.
For example, the sir had asked Pakistan crisis and how it is impacting
India.
And there are always questions around should India give its help.
Okay. So what stand you took?
So I would say that India should not, because currently they are not also asking for help, and secondly, terrorism and talks can't go together for us. So I think first we need to solve the bilateral issues and then provide any.
Yes, there are two views. Majority of the view is that India, if Pakistan demands, India as a good neighbor and a good neighborhood policy should help them in some or the other manner on the humanitarian grounds. We have helped Taliban also. Let us
Yes,
see
sir.
the trend. We have also helped Turkey.
Yes, sir.
And that too when Turkey was in crisis, and despite the fact that Erdogan, he had been very critical. Now it's a different matter that after we supported him, he again criticized India in the United Nations. But that apart. So keep this stand, I think, more, be inclined to this stand more than India. However, while India provides help, it should put a rider and a condition about stopping the terrorist activity, across the border or whatever. So even otherwise, India will keep talking to Pakistan. It will not stop. चाइना से बात हो गई बॉर्डर के बावजूद,
Yes.
तो टॉक्स करने के लिए मना नहीं करना चाहिए कभी.
Okay.
ठीक है. तो IFS भी तो तुमने भरा होगा.
हाँ, number 3.
तो कोई अगर IFS का बैठा होगा, अरे ये तो बिल्कुल ही बातचीत ही नहीं करना चाहिए. So help on humanitarian grounds, yes.
Conditional help, I can say.
हाँ, don't use the word condition, but while helping, India should make it very clear that all that is being done by Pakistan should not be done, and we must try to make it very clear to them. मतलब साथ के साथ भाई हम तुम्हें दे रहे हैं कि ध्यान रखना. कंडीशन नहीं है. अब वो कंडीशन क्या करेगा, वो कैसे प्रूव करेगा? वो तो आज मर रहा है पाकिस्तान, वो कहेगा मैं 6 महीने में टेररिज्म कुछ नहीं करूंगा, हम 6 महीने देखेंगे, तुम नहीं करोगे तब हम तुम्हें देंगे. हेल्प का क्या मतलब हुआ? सो इट इज़ नॉट अ पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम कि आप मुझे ये हाथ में ये कोहिनूर का वो ताज पकड़ा दो तो मैं तुम्हें हेल्प दे दूंगा. ऐसा तो है नहीं. इट इज़ नॉट वन डे अफेयर. दे मे से हाँ वी विल स्टॉप टेररिज्म. So we may not be convinced. As far as money, this thing is concerned, giving money has raises one issue that they may use that money to fund the terrorism once again. तो उसको आप कर सकते हैं कि ह्यूमैनिटेरियन वाले पे कर सकते हैं, बट इन टर्म्स ऑफ जो IMF और वो सब कर रहा है, पैसे हम भी नहीं दे रहे हैं, हम तो एश्योरेंस दे रहे हैं. So that assurance जो है can be thought of provided they assure the international जो भी monetary fund है या जो source है वो उसको और इंडिया को कि भाई they will not indulge in this. But we should not say कि we should not help them unless they do it. Okay? ये political stand होता है थोड़ा, but then when a bureaucrat से पूछा जाता है, you can't take the same stand as a political stand. ठीक है ना? Anything else?
Nothing, sir.
So we have given you, Gunjita, 69% today.
Okay, sir.
190 marks.
So you deserve this. So is this your first UPSC interview?
Yes, sir.
All right. And this was your first mains also?
First means.
Gunjita, as I will echo what Mr. Sumesh has mentioned, you have a very good chance of getting into quite high if you perform like this. All the best.
Thank you, sir.